Howdy, y'all. So it's been a long day of Christmas celebration and all kinds of fun stuff. And I know I sound pretty atrocious, but that's because I have a wicked cold. But I was just thinking about family today because Star Trek, even though we don't see much about family and Star Trek flyboys, you know, don't want to get married and Starfleet officers aren't really going to get married. We see a lot of people who get married and a lot of people who have families on the ship. And today family means a lot because it's Christmas, at least for another couple hours here in California. And it's kind of important to think about family. I mean, in Star Trek, it's a little odd because duty and command first to the ship and keeping the ship safe, but in Voyager we have Ensign Wildman, who has Naomi Wildman running around the ship wanting to be captain's assistant, and eventually in one of the episodes where there's a time paradox fractured ship, we see her in astrometrics, having become a Starfleet officer. There's Jake Sisko, who chose a different path in Starfleet, and that's very acceptable, and he's an amazing writer. His dad's Captain Sisko. His dad is on the station. His dad runs the station, but he's there. There's Harry Kim, who doesn't have any kids, but he misses his family so deeply and so fiercely that he is trying to find his way home just so that he can get back to his family. And he misses his mom and his girlfriend and everyone, so he just uses that to try to get home. There's Wesley Crusher, who also decides to choose a Starfleet path, even though he doesn't necessarily have to, and in the end doesn't choose a Starfleet path because he becomes a traveler. There's B'Elanna Torres, who has a Klingon daughter, who becomes the ambassador to the Klingon homeworld, Kronos, for Starfleet. There's a lot. Alexander Rozhenko, Worf's son, is working for the Empire. He's a soldier on a ship. He's a warrior trying to protect the Empire just like any other soldier. And I mean, the list goes on and on. There's Miles O'Brien, who has Keiko and has Molly and Yoshi. And those kids are underfoot all the time. They get to meet a Cardassian boy named Rugal and play with him whilst his situation is being handled. And they learn tolerance. A lot of them learn tolerance growing up in Starfleet, and I think that's amazing. I think that Star Trek teaches tolerance. It teaches knowing that people are different and knowing that people are maybe even better because they're different. And not so much of this cookie cutter, everybody has to be the same, everybody has to conform to certain boxes, because guess what, there's Garrick in DS9, who, I mean, in the grand scheme of things is very cagey most of the time, but he does do things for DS9 that most other Cardassians would not do, and for the Federation. There's Quark and Rom, who are, well, Rom is very un-Ferengi-like in the end of it all. Sorry, my throat's a little sore today. He kind of throws this profit-only situation to the wind and marries Bajoran and learns to be the new face of Ferengi, where they become more enlightened and more almost not profit hungry as they used to be. Women get profit now, etc., etc. Quark, although he's definitely more Ferengi than Rom, or acts more stereotypically Ferengi, definitely changes throughout the series and becomes someone who seems to care about the people in the Federation despite being Ferengi and acting very Ferengi. I guess all that is to say that we should celebrate each other's differences and be grateful for what we have, especially on days like Christmas where we have our entire family with us, or we have a roof over our heads, or a room to sleep in, or a fiance who loves you, or any one of a million things to be grateful for. I am grateful for all of that and everything that makes me different. I am different than the neurotypical people. I am autistic, and that means that I think differently than most people, and that sometimes I have difficulty with social skills like Seven or Spock or the Doctor, and I think we should celebrate our differences instead of looking down on people who might be different. I mean, Quark was different than most Ferengi. He broke a Ferengi contract, and in that he became a great friend to the Federation and helped do amazing things for Starfleet during the Romulan War. Not the Romulan War. The Dominion War. And showed great compassion for the people of Starfleet, and even for Odo. Rom managed to change the face of what is the Ferengi government now, just based on who he is, and now he's the Nagus. Nog is the first Ferengi in Starfleet. They're all breaking barriers, and part of my hope for the world is that we celebrate our differences and that Star Trek can teach diversity. That being said, I'm a pretty cookie cutter Trekkie. I have a crazy amount of Trekkie stuff in my room. I was noticing the excessive amount of Star Trek stuff I've got in my room. I have a Brent Spiner signed picture, a bunch of action figures, Dax, Martog, and even more over here. Over here I've got the entire crew of the new Enterprise. Well, I've got old school Kirk, and then the entire crew of the new Enterprise, and my shuttlecraft is coming. I'm pretty proud of my Trekkie collection. But, yeah, I feel like... Oh, and my memoriam wall. I've got Anton Yelchin, just because he was amazing in his role as Chekhov. And he put a smile on my face every time I saw him in his show. And my Star Trek puzzle, the bridge crew from NCC 1701, and specifically for Leonard Nimoy because he passed away this past year. But I feel like Star Trek can teach diversity, infinite diversity, or tolerance, because it promotes infinite diversity and infinite combinations. And they celebrate the fact that species can work together and form alliances and work together for the better of the galaxy. So if they can all work together for the better of the galaxy, why can't we work together as human beings to create a better society? Anyway, live long and prosper. I'll see you guys next week.